Welcome back, my brothers and sisters in Christ. Now, if you remember the second video I put out, forgive me if the timeline seems to be kind of a little mixed up. I'm not used to this video thing. I was just led to put out these testimonies. So, like I tell you, the first video I put out was when my ex-boyfriend died. God rest the dead. That was in 2012. And the other gentleman on the second video was a few years later. That was in 2020 when I encountered God again in my vehicle crying out to God. Now in 2021 is when I fully decided to follow God wholeheartedly. Now, like I said back in the second video, when I said that I cried out to God and He heard my cry and He told me He want me to get in church. Okay. If you didn't watch the second video, go and watch my second video. It's all on the second video. So I think where I left off is when my pastor called the phone and I told him that me and my kids will continue to come to church. Now, in continuing to go in going to church, continuing to walk with God, He taught me so many different things along the way and along my journey with Him. I remember as I continued going to church, I started to hate sin. I started to hate the things that consist of sinning. I remember even would still be with my boyfriend at the time. We were still having sex, and it felt gross and nasty to me because God started to work inside of me, and started to teach me that, I want you to keep your body holy and acceptable. This isn't the path that I want you to be on anymore, so on and so forth. Now, remember, I told you I went to church initially for God to change and, my relationship around, for things to get better. Because I tell you one thing, if He told me that He was gonna ask me to leave this relationship right then in the vehicle, I was not going to do so. See, God knows us. We are His children, and He loves us, and He knows just who He created. So I think within a year or so, down the line into the relationship, He started to show me, He started to teach me the Bible, teach me biblical things, and like I say, I started to hate sin. And I remembered this particular occasion, He started to tell me that, okay, after I think a year and a half of being a Christian, He told me, it's time to leave this relationship because you all are not equally yoked. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, wow, let me see if this is something like I ready to do, and like I say, He was already working inside of me. So I had no problem after a year and a half of actually leaving that relationship because I wanted to follow God wholeheartedly in my walk with God. And I remembered friend of mine invited me to a church, to her church, and I remembered I think they had a visitor from the United States or something like that, and I remembered him calling me up, and he was like, you are in this relationship. At the time I still was in the relationship. Mind you, my mind already left the relationship already because I already was told to leave. I just didn't leave physically yet, but mentally and spiritually I was already gone. And I remembered him saying that, God said that He wants you to leave that relationship you're in because you all two are not equally yoked. And that was just confirmation. And I remember going home, like driving home that night, with all of my thoughts. And and I think that was a Friday night, or something like that. And I remembered Saturday morning telling him, like, I don't think this relationship is going to work. you know um, we're not on the same path. We haven't been on it for a very long time. you know um, I'm on a different path and you're on a different path, so it's best that we separate. you know and he questioned it for a bit, and then he's like, oh, okay, that's what you want to do, then do that. Now, I remember leading up to me actually telling him about it, telling him that I'm leaving. I remember God telling me to go to him 3 times in the relationship and ask him to change his life. Now, some people, because they're so familiar with you, if they feel like that ain't God you hearing from, or God wouldn't tell you that, or that's your mind telling you to say that, or whatever the situation is. Now, I went to him on 3 occasions and told him, thus said the Lord, and he still didn't comply with what the Lord have said. He still didn't change his life. He didn't do anything to move closer to God, and so on and so forth. So I was, I was already in my mind, okay, this ain't gonna work. God said lead this, let me lead this. So I ended up leaving that relationship, and I left that relationship in 2023. Hold on, let me. You see me looking down. I looking at some notes. Yeah, I think that was March of 2023. I left that relationship. So I gave my life to Christ in 2021, and I left the relationship in 2023. And ever since, I was abstinent from sex. Okay, I remain single. I'm celibate now, going on 2.5 years, and I remember telling God when I left the relationship. I remember telling him, I was like, I don't want another relationship. I don't want to be in a relationship with nobody else. I just want you. I remember telling God and crying out to God, like, I only want you. I don't want nobody else. I don't want to be in a relationship to cause me to detour from what I'm focusing on right now. I only want you. So that was the beginning of my journey, diving in wholeheartedly in the things of God. And as I went on, months and months, and God ministering to me, and get me up in the middle of the night, telling me to pray, telling me to pray for certain people, showing me more visions and dreams about different things and life occurrence of what will happen, and going giving testimonies to people, and so on and so forth. Now, I remember this particular time, this before I gave my life wholeheartedly, but I was walking the journey. I would call myself a baby Christian, sorry. And I remember starting to watch pornography. I didn't start. I was doing it back then, so I was like watching it. As I said, I give my life to Christ, and I remember like starting to watch it right on my phone. This happened like in the night or something. I couldn't remember exactly. Probably not in the nighttime. And I remember the voice of God telling me that, how could you call yourself a child of me and you're watching filth? And I was like, what? I was like, filth? And I was like, oh my God. And I felt so convicted. I was so convicted. And I remember repenting. I remember asking God to forgive me because I honestly, I did not know that watching pornography was a sin. I did not know. Like I said, I was a baby Christian. I just entered into this. I figured, certain stuff you could continue to do, and so on and so forth. And that was my last time ever watching pornography. So anybody who's saying pornography is not a sin, it is a sin because it came from the voice and the throne of God. So I don't care what you say. I don't care how you say it. It's a sin. And if you are a Christian, you call yourself a Christian, you should know this. And if you don't know, now you know. Okay? So, and I remember him telling me, about different things in the Bible and how to read the Bible and how to maneuver in the Bible. And I remember too also, because I used to go to one of my girlfriend's house, and when we go to a house, we used to, drink and stuff like that, play games and stuff like that. And I remember this one particular night, this was a Friday night, and she called me, she's like, oh, you coming by me, and I was like, yeah, I'll pass through. And she had this wine she introduced me to. It was so good. I told him that's the best tasting wine I've ever tasted in my life. I can't remember the name of the wine per se, but it was really good. It was a white wine, right? And I remember saying, oh wait, Diana, I just got another bottle of this white wine, which you like, like when we open it up and pour you a glass. I was like, yeah, of course, let's do this. And she poured me a glass, right? And I remember tasting it, and I kid you not, that wine tasted, I never tasted diesel before, but it tastes like, it tastes and smell like gas. It smelled horrible. It smelled really bad, and it tastes really bad. And I was like, you sure this the same wine? And she was like, yeah, they are. That's the same wine that I got. That's the same wine. And I was in my head, I was like, this can't be the same wine. And I remember asking her, let me see the bottle. And she went and she took it out. She said, see, this is the same wine. It's the same wine. And I was like, that is the same wine in my head. And I was like, why does this taste like garbage? Why does it taste like this? And she was like, and I was like, okay, pour this glass and pour me another glass, because I thinking like something to change because, something ain't right. And I remember her throwing out the glass and pour me another glass, and she bring it and I taste it again. White wine for the second time tastes worse than the first time. It was horrible. And I was like, something ain't right. Like something isn't right. And I was like, and she's like, what happened? I was like, I don't know, because this don't even taste right. This don't taste good. She's like, Anna, what are you talking about? That's the same wine. I said, I know, but something isn't right. And right there and then, I did not know that God was working in me and through me. Because I remember going home that night, right? And I remember like bathing and going to my bed. I remember the voice of God telling me that he wanted me to stop drinking that very same night. And I was like, oh, it's you that changed my taste buds. It's you that made me didn't want to drink that drink. Like, it's you. And I was like, okay, I would not drink anymore. I would not put another glass of alcohol to my mouth. That was the last time I've ever drank. And that was, I think, like maybe 3 years ago. Maybe 3 years ago, yeah, 3 years ago. Or 3.5 years ago, I can remember. He told me about the drinking. He wanted me to stop drinking. My body, the sin of my body, and leave that relationship I was in. The same relationship. Keep in mind, guys and ladies, the same relationship that I went in to save was the same relationship he told me to leave because we were not equally yoked. And it was crazy to me. And what he did was he started to work in me and through me. He started to make me hate dislike sinful things. Because when it was time to leave the relationship, I had no problem at all. I was so fine with leaving it because I was like, okay, this person, me and this person is not on one accord. We're not on one accord. We was never on one accord. Um, because now I'm a Christian now. And when you're a Christian and God started to reveal certain stuff to you, it started to open up your eyes and certain revelations, so I had to believe in that. You also tell me about pornography, and that is filth. He used the word filth, and we all know what filth is. It's just like it's garbage. It's nasty, you know. And I was condemned and for that, and so those were some of the things that he told me on my earlier years of being, I would say, a baby Christian, and he started to work on me with tithing, because if anybody knew me, I did not believe in paying tithes. I absolutely did not believe in paying tithes. And keep in mind, I was not a Christian, so I wasn't going to church. So to me, I felt like, you're paying tithes, you putting money in these pastors' pockets, and so on and so forth, when that was not the case at all. Because I remember sitting down in the couch one day in the front room, and I was just reminiscing about my life, like as a Christian, a newbie Christian, and just saying, well, Lord, I maneuvering through, I just learning and stuff like that, and I remember thinking about, like I said, my life and my kids, and where life has taken me, and the journey I've been on over all the years, and how God still kept me. And I remember him saying to me, he said, pay me what is mine and give Caesar what is Caesar's. And I was like, what? Pay you what is yours and give Caesar what is Caesar's. Now, some may say, oh, that don't mean pay your tithes. That don't mean it absolutely does. It absolutely does. Because at that time in my thoughts, I was thinking about finances. I was thinking about money, and where I can get this money from, and how I'm going to pay these bills and stuff like that. So that was what he said. When he said, pay me what is mine, mean in time, mean in money, mean in your gifts. So that was that. And when he said, pay Caesar's what is Caesar's, means whoever you owe, please pay your bills. Okay, just pay your bills. If you owe somebody, pay them. Whether you have to pay them $10 a week, $5 a week, $20 a week, $50 a week, whatever it is, please pay your bills, because God looks at it and God knows, and he knows exactly what you are doing. Okay, so if you owe somebody, pay them. If you owe the bank, pay them. Just pay them, because trust me, when I say God honors that, he really does. Take it from me, I can tell you. So and that is when I began paying tithes. I think that was like maybe a year into me being a Christian. He told me that, and I started to pay my tithes. And as I started to pay my tithes, when I tell you, things started opening up for me full circle. I'm talking about full circle. I could see the hand of God in every situation. Not that I couldn't see the hand of God, because remember I told you he was with me from then. But when I'm talking about things that I struggled to get, years, was happening for me in weeks. Was happening for me in months. Was happening for me like crazy. Like doors that was closed started opening up and stuff like that. So I remember too, also my daughter, there's a testimony, okay? My daughter, she was coming out of school, and she wanted to go to college, and I did not, as a single parent, I did not have means nor the ways to get her there, okay? And I remembered I had this bus. I bought a bus, and the bus was off the road for many years, at least about maybe 4 to 5 years, right? I was trying to sell this bus for as long as I could and could not sell this bus, right? Every time someone called me and they say, oh, I come to look at the bus, or oh, I see the bus in the papers, you know, I'm interested, I come to look at it. I kid you not. People will call me, persons will call me and say, oh, I come to look at this bus, and they will never reach. I had a lady call me and said, I get the money in my hand right now, miss. Do not sell the bus. I'm coming in 15 minutes. I kid you not, that bus did not sell. That woman, like, she vanished. Didn't hear nothing from that lady. And that was 5 years before my daughter came over. That was 4 years, sorry, before my daughter came over to school, right? The year she was getting ready to go to college and stuff like that, when selling out her applications and stuff like that. I remember, because I had given my life to Christ, I was a Christian then, 4 years ago. And I remembered, this could be the 5th year, I remember sitting on the couch, and I remember telling God, I was like, you know, I'm a single parent, you know, my daughter want to go to college, you know, I can't afford it right now. I don't know what to do. Maybe she could just stay here and work for a few years to make up the money, and then she could go off, right? And that's what I was just saying. I was just speaking it, right? And then I remember the voice telling me, said, start to prepare her to go to college. And I was like, start to prepare her? I was like, what? And I remember telling my daughter that, you know, maybe you'll have to just stay here for a few years, you know, maybe 2 years to get, you know, build up some funds and then go to college, right? So I remember knocking on her door, and I remember opening the door, and when I opened the door, she was parking, like she was parking 3 suitcases, and I was like, what are you doing? And she was like, Mommy, I going to college. And I just literally bawled out crying. I was like crying. I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, yeah, I'm going. And I said, yeah, you're right. I said, God said, get you ready to leave because you're going to college, you know. And everything started to fall into place. And I remembered she applied to, like, I think it was 12 colleges, and she got accepted into, I think, 10, maybe 8 or 10 colleges. But as you may know, some was not given, like, they wasn't given a good enough scholarship, you know. So I remember praying to God, and I was like, I don't know which college, like, to put her in, you know. I said, I don't know which one, you know, to choose, because all these are not giving her a good enough scholarship to at least cushion what the back end, what I may have to pay, you know. And I remember laying there, going to bed that night, right? And I remember God showing me a vision of this college application. On the college application, it said $18,000. And I remember getting up that morning, I was like, God, is this college? Is this the college? Because I was like, which college? And I was like, what college? Which college is this? Because I didn't remember seeing the name, but I remember seeing the amount that they would give her off, right? Because I was like, okay, what's going on? So I remember going into work that morning, and I remember telling one of my co-workers, I said, girl, you know, I just had a vision last night where God showed me that this college offer my daughter $18,000 of her scholarship, of the tuition, you know. And she was like, what? She's like, wow. And I went and I sit down to my computer, to my desk, you know, to work. And I remembered opening up with this email on my phone. It like ding off, my emails just go off. And I remember opening up my email. Right there and then, the email had my daughter's name, the school, and the amount of scholarships that they give out. And I kid you not, the amount was $18,000. on the scholarship letter. But I tell you, I couldn't contain myself. And it was a college that was not too far from where I live. And if anybody know, I live in the Bahamas, so the college was right. It was it wasn't far from here. You could catch one flight from here to the college. And I remember like being so ecstatic and going to my co-worker and saying, girl, guess what, the scholarship letter just came through, the scholarship letter just came through. And she's like, you serious? I say, for the exact same amount that God showed me, the exact same amount that God showed me. So that was confirmation, because I remember telling God that I don't want her to go far, because I think when she graduated, she was only 16 at the time. She was just turning 17, so she was still my baby. And I was like, I don't want her to go far place, and I want her to go in the dorms, not to stay off the campus, but on the campus, And when I came through, I was like, God, you really do your big one, And I remember going down and telling her, I said, you get a scholarship offer. And she's like, how much is a scholarship offer? And I said, $18,000 off. And she's like, oh wow, she's like, me, that's one I need to pick. It was couple was given like 16 and 15 and so on and so forth, but that was the one God showed me, so that was the one I went with, because I was obedient to the things of God. So we went with that one. And I still had to come up. I think the tuition was $43,000 per year. And they give 18 $1,000 off. And then the government assistance program by MOE, which is Ministry of Education, because she had, I think, 5 A's on a BGCSE, they give her $10,000 to go along with the $18,000. So and then I pay $10,000 annually. So that was, which is still a bit much, but it was a big chunk taken off of me. So that's how God made a way. And I remember telling God, like, I don't have $10,000 to go with the rest. I was like, I don't even have $10,000. Where can I find $10,000 from? And I remembered getting it ready to going on faith, like really going on. I'm talking about, when I talk about a faith walk, really going on faith, because that's all I had, with no money but faith. That's all I went with. And being obedient to God, because remember, God honor obedience more than He honor sacrifices. Trust me when I tell you that. So I remember I'm getting it ready, and when we reach to the place where her university was, I remember me and my sisters, them and her aunts, we catch the flight and we land that morning. We land that Saturday morning, and the difference of the school fee was due that following Wednesday. I need to come up with $5,000. $5,000 cash, or however you have it, $5,000. And I land in the airport Saturday morning, and we land probably around, but maybe 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning. And as soon as we land, my phone rang. When my phone rang, it was the gentleman who was selling the bus for me, right? Which is my ex-boyfriend, right? And he was like, Diana, you won't believe the bus just got sold. I was like, what? He was like, yeah, the bus just got sold. He gave me the cash, half of the cash in my hand, and the other half you'll deposit on the account, and I will um, send it to your bank account. And I was like, what? When I tell you, when I tell you, women and men of God, trust God. Trust Him with all your heart, and lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. When I tell you, I was like a clown in the airport. I literally run into the female's bathroom, fall on the floor, and started sobbing. I started praising. I started thanking. I started, listen to me, I was like a radical, I don't know what. It was like a crazy praise in there. I couldn't believe it. I talking about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, so 4 days until that payment was due. God came through. He was a man of His word, and He told me, you don't have to worry about Paris. I will take care of her. When I tell you, God did His big one like no other. And I paid for her tuition for that whole semester, for that whole half a semester. And God is so awesome. The thing about now is it's just mind blowing, you know. And I remember too, that's why you be very careful who you let in your ear gate, and not let people try to deter you from what God have told you. Listen to this. I remember telling people, like, you know, I wonder if I should send my daughter off. This after God tell me to prepare her, cause you know in your ways you still like, you ain't sure, you know, or this, you know, this ain't, you ain't know. And I remember people saying, like, one or two people saying, like, you know, I don't know if I should send her, you know, I don't know, because I don't have the funds, and so on and so forth. And people are like, oh, why are you sending your daughter? Oh, she's only 16. Why are you sending your daughter to college? You know, she's not mature enough. You don't know, she's still a baby, so on and so forth. Now, if I didn't listen to the voice of humans, to the voice of people, and did not listen to the voice of my one true living God, you know what would have happened to my daughter. She'd have been right here, probably doing God knows what in terms of jobs that she hates or don't want to be to, and not fulfilling her purpose. That's what will happen if I listen and hearken to the voice of man. Listen to me. Be very careful who you all let in your ear gate. Trust me. Trust me. And I am so grateful. I am beyond grateful that I hear God's voice audibly, and He speaks to me like no other. And that's because I surrender. I surrender everything to God. When I tell you I seek Him daily. If I do something wrong, I try to repent. And I repent. Because I'm convicted. I'm convicted. When I do wrong as a Christian, you're convicted. And if you're not convicted as a Christian, something is wrong with you. You need to check yourself. Okay? You should have conviction inside of you. Because the spirit that God has inside a true Christian leads you and lets you know when you need convicted, when you do something wrong, or when you're doing something wrong. Okay? And so be very careful, okay, on where you go, who you go with, and the places you tread.